Hopefully you guys can still hear us. Wonderful. So what I thought is, we'll kick off and I would ask a few questions to these guys that I've been curious about, and then throw it to the audience for 5-7 minutes of questioning towards the end. So let me start with you, Asad, jump straight in. So we've seen the whole Satya Nadella versus Mark Benioff debate happen, about SaaS is dead, SaaS is not dead, and so on. But then Satya is your biggest fan, I know. He's launched you, and he's promised to launch again in the next one. Take us through your perspective on this debate. Is SaaS dead?
I mean, keep this talk between the big tech boys. We are busy solving the problem. But there are definitely very interesting things happening that after this whole Gen AI evolution that people are seeing right now, when data and knowledge coming together, and you are seeing the wonderful results out of it. It was not there before. So definitely it's becoming more useful. Like I was reading the Klarna case study last night again and going deeper, that how, system of records is going out of Salesforce and is going on the Neo4j.
They may not know the Klarna, so maybe you can just elaborate.
So Klarna is like a firm competitor in Europe. And they actually offloaded a lot of SaaS tools recently. They ended up building the AI agent workflow in-house. They actually fired a lot of SaaS. And they also fired Salesforce. So the interesting case study was that how they ended up operating more efficiently and more intelligent manner with their in-house agentic workflow. So that is also was in the discussion. But yes, we are seeing that SaaS, people are building on top of SaaS, and people are reimagining completely. Right. And there are two perspectives right now, which we are also seeing in case of software testing, and a lot of weird discussions are going in the room right now, that do we still need this department?
Yeah.
Or shall we merge it with the engineering? And when system is going to write a lot of tests by itself, then why we need to call someone tester or call them engineer and merge it with the engineering team and move it fast on the continuous testing cycle, ship it fast.
So what I hear you saying is basically SaaS becomes the enabler, and whether it remains a SaaS app or it morphs to an AI app depends on the use case. Is that
incremental versus reimagining completely, there's two discussions going on right now. So incremental, the companies who are not finding the Gen AI native use cases, they might do incremental, and people who have opportunity to reimagine completely.
Right.
In last 20 years, we ended up building a lot of departments, a lot of functions we were forced to build actually.
So let's maybe build on that. Nishant, you have gone through so many enterprise refresh cycles. We remember enterprise software days, then to cloud, then to SaaS, now to AI. Take us through your perspective on sort of what are the assets you see SaaS companies have which allow for them to build for AI maybe better.
In the end, it's about reimagining a business process, and technology just allows us to do it better. And every few years, there'll be a technology that will allow us to take out friction, make it easier. And now you can come to that same point through two different ways. If you're already in the enterprise, you know the enterprise well, and it's kind of wired in. And if you can innovate, you have that advantage because you know what's the pain, you know what's the straight line from A to B instead of all the curves we take. And if you're new to business, you can bring, here is a better way to do loans, right? And if they like it, it's great. So I think when you're inside enterprise, I think all the understanding of the data, their integrations. Remember, this data is not available on the internet. You can't really train. Literally, we've trained all the internet. It now fits in a USB key in a LLM, right? So really, the next set of data is inside the enterprise, spread across various systems, and one process really jumps across 8-9 of these systems. So the question is, do you want to kind of just make a smarter process or remove all the 8 systems? So I think it's a healthy place to kind of solve for.
So it's saying it's an evolution, but there's an assets, but the SaaS companies have to use those assets wisely
Absolutely.
in order to
So
be
if you're
the
thin,
guys. Yeah.
Then you're in trouble because,
Right.
I mean, an AI can write equivalent code and really you don't have to pay for that. But if you're deep, and if you think of it, the difference of an app and a platform, if you're in that platform motion like we are, then this is an incredibly exciting time for you because what you can now do.
You're saying point solution SaaS may not survive, but then the platform SaaS will have an advantage. So Ayush, throwing to you, you're the youngster in the group. How do you see this? You're born, in the AI first world. So what's your perspective on this question?
I think agree with what the other panelists have to say, but there are certain advantages of being born in the AI space. The way we look at an application, the way we architect is having AI at the center of all of it. The way, rather than, we look at when we build something, we look at, okay, what AI can do in the next 6 months rather than what the technology has been so far, like what's the standard way of doing things 2 years back versus what it will be. So we are more focused on, okay, how we should do things today, which would become better when AI gets better in a way, right? So there are advantages, but in my experience, technology isn't the most challenging part. It's when talk about enterprises getting better. It's more to do with culture. It's also a lot more to do with internal policies. And we have great examples here when the leaders want to do something, technology or the teams does not become a challenge, right?
So I promised some spice on the panel, so I'm going to push you a little bit. Like you don't come with any of the baggage that they have, right?
Yeah.
They have an architecture that's been existing for the last 5 years, 10 years, whatever. They have a customer base that has asked them to do all sorts of custom work. You don't have that baggage as a fresh AI first company.
Yeah.
So don't you have an advantage?
The advantage lies in, yes, we could push things with far more velocity. The advantage is a typical startup advantage versus an enterprise. We could churn out more code, we could try a lot more things, we could fail and not be worried about it a lot more. But other than that, if you just talk about, hey, if can I build a feature better than an enterprise? From purely technology point of view, maybe not. Or it's not going to be the main challenge. The challenges are a lot more on what you talk about baggage, that I can't push something which it needs to go through 8 desks. It needs to go to safety, it needs to go through compliance, it needs to go through legal. Those are the things which we don't have to care about.
Did you want to react to that?
Yeah, I mean, if you just
it sounded like I saw it,
yeah. You've asked a question which has an assumption.
Okay.
Your assumption is that our architecture has not evolved,
Boom.
and when you were born with it and you'll die with it. That's really not true,
Okay.
The fact is that, eventually what they're writing is with a young set of engineers, right? Imagine we also have those young set of engineers. If you will survive in battles where we do against the innovators or so-called the innovators of the world, you are equally good with killing yourself and being reborn every quarter. The thing is that you now have experience of 10 years of doing it, right? So I don't think today technical architecture is kind of set in stone or in time. We refactor continuously. And that is where, whether it's the way we test today, I completely agree that we're trying to say that we're going to reduce our test teams by 50%.
Yeah.
Now, when you write code, the test will automatically get created, right? So all of those will continue to happen. And I think it's more of I would just suggest that eventually we are all trying to solve a business problem. And who's got the lowest friction and best price to solve it, that's always the winner.
Got it. So just before you jump in, it sounds like the enterprise context, right? Trust of your customer, the access to the data and stuff is the more important thing. The tech piece will get refreshed, is what Nishant is saying. Sanjay, you want to
I
add?
was just adding to the point that access to data, we've been around for 6-8 years. Like if I speak about the HR industry that we are in, we have access to millions of profiles and millions of candidate and recruiter interaction data, which a new age company will not have. But for sure that gives us an advantage because now we are better equipped to solve for some of the use cases because we have that data, we have that intelligence already with us.
Got it. So Sanjay, actually, while staying on you came to run and build the India business for Sense. Take us through some of the advantages that India, you believe, has in this AI world for our LPs? Yeah.
Sure. I think some of the advantages which have been there, I think they are continue to stay and probably become bigger. One being the talent pool itself, right? While programming may become easier and some of the roles might transform, but the fundamentals, the deep understanding of your work, deep understanding of your algorithms and technology is important. And I think India as a country, like today, about million engineers, million com science engineers actually come into the market every year. So they have deep knowledge. So that's one. Second, learnability and adaptability. I think India is one of the countries who actually directly moved into the mobile world and skipping the desktop world. So this shows how we quickly can adapt and grow with the market. And third, of course, we are frugal-minded. We at the same time we always like to innovate, try things faster. I mean, there's a term in the market now called rapper startup, right? Which is basically building application and solving for use cases using LLM models. Some of them are here to stay. Some of them may be shallow and move on. But that's a good space because with the open AI and open source, we have access to those APIs and the idea is to try more and build more and more applications. Some will stay, some may not. But it's really exciting time here for India.
Asad, I remember, I loved how you said that, India is a nation of use cases. So could you elaborate more on that? Like how does it help? Because when we build, we can build for the world. Maybe you can elaborate on that comment.
Yeah, I mean, we have been back office for the world for a long, long time. You look at our KPOs and others, that how we were running paralegal plus medical transcriptions. You have seen a lot of things that we are running it since long time. So even Nandan was talking that we are land of use cases. But how fast we grab it, that is also a question. How fast we go after it. Our skill, we have skilled pool. How faster they are going on the agentic versus research. Research is definitely complex. We have less researcher than United States and France that we are seeing. But agentic is definitely our opportunity where we can train them fast. And
agentic favors India, you believe?
100%.
Awesome. Ayush, India has historically been known as applications, right? But now, it's amazing to see. It's really inspiring for me to see, assets like sort of Portkey getting built, where you're now operating at the infra and the LLM ops level, right? So what gives us that advantage to now build at that part of the stack versus just the application stack?
I think having that talent pool and having that experience is obviously very helpful. But if I were to answer on a more overview level, like what is the India's advantage in AI? So if you break AI or the entire landscape, like it's at the very bottom there is the chips itself, right? So India does not have a very strong play in that. Then on top of hardware, there is the core LLM inference pieces. I'm safe to say we are at least a couple of years behind in what's out there already in the market. If you come a layer above that, which is the middleware layer or the ops layer, that's where sort of we operate in. There is a ton of competition and there are hardly few which is coming from India.
Okay.
On a layer of top of that is the application and the agents. Yes, there we are seeing a lot of adoption, a lot of things there, but I don't see, and if you look at the bottom layers, India is behind. We really need to invest a lot more on R&D. The thought process have to be changed. When we say India is really good at, there's a frugality, there is a jugaad, those things is not which would take us ahead, at least in all of these layers. It has to be a lot more production ready. It has to have 4/9 uptime guarantees, things that we have not been, or we are not known for, right?
But with the new set of tools, that's what you're saying is going to change, right? Because you have access to the best tools. Like you have to access the same tools as the guy building out of Silicon Valley. So
that also means that India does not have any extra advantage. I'm not saying that any other country has.
Yeah.
But
you're
at least on
the playing field has been leveled.
Correct.
So where US may have had an advantage, now we have access to the same tools. So we can also build from here.
Correct. But I mean, if the question is, does India have an advantage? In the lower infra pieces, we haven't proved it yet. In the agentic or the application side, I don't see an advantage as such because everybody has access to same computation and knowledge.
I'm going to throw it open to questions in a second. I'm going to ask Nishant one question. So, in case you have questions, just raise your hands and I think Ganesh will help get a mic to you. Nishant, maybe one question on, like the regulation piece of this, right? So as AI comes out, given you operate in a highly regulated industry like banking, how do you see sort of, we're hearing about sovereign cloud, we're hearing about AI explainability, AI theft, IP theft, and so on. How do you see governments reacting to this?
So in 2019, we put out this thing that the future of bank is autonomous, and everybody was laughing on us. Okay, so by 2025, at least we are now serious about it. But now look at Agent Next, right? So what we're saying is, if you want to pitch to this guy, he's going to do everything, including evaluate you and then send out an offer, right? Now, who's responsible if that offer is wrong, right? And so where does the centricity of action rest? So when you go to regulators like RBI, which governs all our bank, they're like, okay, so who do I catch in this case? Because in the old case, I knew there was a employee ID somewhere, right? So there are a lot of concerns like that. So what we're doing with Agent Next is we're building in a very extensive observability surface, a lot of traceability, the entire thought chains are being written down. So in fact, that's one of the critical reasons why we beat Agent Force in the Foresta, because the depth of what we were thinking was huge, because we were building for the enterprise, which is a bank. The second very big thing is that there is this huge discomfort with AI for regulators, because they don't want data to go to that, a public model. So like, let's say you using open AI and it's a private AI or something, but you're just passing bank data, which is highly sensitive to that. So they need all of this done with data in perimeter. So what we're using is a lot of open source models to give you that. And the great thing is, to achieve the outcome, you don't always need to be on the frontier model. So that's the myth, right? So therefore, really, it's about the outcome you're trying to achieve within the framework model that your regulator will allow you. And I think those are points where, if you're not in the banking industry, or you really don't care that much, but if you're in the banking industry, then these become like the pivotal decision point for you, if I may.
Sure. Any questions? Yes, please, go ahead. If you can direct who you're directing your question to, that'll be good.
Probably just take to Nishan. Hi, Ren Hua from Singapore and Thailand. So great to see you guys. Back to the question about the evolution of the AI value chain. How do you see pricing strategies change? Right. So obviously, infrastructure evolves, and from a technical perspective, things evolves. But as you think about multi-market, pricing strategy, whether you're pricing for a customer in India or Singapore or the US, how do you see pricing strategies evolve in relation to architectural evolutions?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, because the honest answer is none of us know. Okay, so I'll tell you what is the war. Like a bank would like to buy this as a technology. We would like to sell it like a labor. Okay, perhaps the best is a combination of two, where there is some fixed price and some outcome-based pricing. But one of the problems that we are all facing with agentic right now is, how do you price it, right? And now let me give you if I have a minute, I can just give you an example.
Wrap up,
Like a call handled by an agentic interface for us will probably cost you $1.10. In India, on a manual channel, you can close that ticket for 16 rupees, which is like 20 cents. So there's that gap of performance, but then there people are willing to pay because of some other reasons. So again, that is not discovered yet. Leaders I know all over the world are announcing it's kind of going to be like this charge per minute and all of that. I don't think so. That's the initial euphoria. Eventually, it's going to be a fixed cost with an outcome cost, because that's where we both win, right? The customer and us.
Cool. We're going to 20 seconds wrap up, lightning round. So just single part answers. Proprietary closed LLMs or open source?
Both.
No, you have to pick one.
It depends on the use case.
No, pick one.
No, for us, it's definitely open source. Yeah.
Open source.
Open source.
Open source, okay. So that's advantage India. Global AI winners or local AI silos?
I mean,
because sovereign cloud, everything, like, what do you think?
Global AI.
Global AI.
Yeah, local.
Local, okay. Yeah. Human out of the loop, human in the loop?
Human will be in the loop.
In the
Human
loop.
in the loop.
Human in the loop for some time.
Okay. Microsoft versus Salesforce. Who's going to win?
Business next.
Business next. I like that. Okay. Mohan or Nishant, the better looking partner? No, I'm just kidding. We're going to wrap up on a note.
Just
Mohan
because
is
you have
clearly
my
the better
name.
looking partner. He has much more hair than me. But on that, join me in thanking the panelists for their perspectives. Really appreciate it.